Let's try that again. I kind of went off on a tangent, anyways. But anyways, I'm gonna give you a quick history, real quick. So I've owned a lot of keyboards over the years, right? And of varying like price ranges and availability and age, you know. So like I've had Space Invaders, I've had a Model M, I've had like BC sliders over domes. I've had like cherry reds, cherry blues, cherry clears. I really don't like browns, so I've never had those before. I've had like Otemu blues. I've had Leopold Topper. I've had Niz Plum Topper clones. I've used a fuck ton of keyboards, and eventually I got kind of sick and tired of it, of like the solder joints breaking. Oh yeah, I've had Matthias quiet clicks as well, and as well as some other keyboards that I can't even fucking remember. Uh, and Cherry Red, so was another one. But anyways, that's not really important. So I came up over the years of a list of shit I need on my keyboard, and the Keychron V3 ended up being what I got after all this time because I needed something that was built really fucking well. And I needed lubricated stabilizers. I needed a standard layout. I needed hot swappable switches just in case a switch broke and I didn't want to fucking pull out a soldering gun. Even though I've got one, I could easily set up a fucking desoldering station and do it all myself, but I just don't fucking want to. And that was kind of my criteria, right? And I needed at least 10 keyless because the games I play, it's really hard to layer function keys as well as the number keys and your letters and modifiers and all that. It's a fucking pain in the ass. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna get a TKL or TKL and it should be fine, right? So I got the Keychron V3 and I've taken the keycaps off every now and then to clean the fucking thing as you do, especially as an animal that eats over his keyboard. Uh, and like has greasy fingers and shit. I needed like easily cleanable keyboard. So I was typing one day though, and this is a few months or like a year after I got it. I don't know, but my E key, the stem, just fucking disintegrated, and I was like, oh shit. So I sent in a warranty request to Keychron, and they were like, "Oh, just give us your order number and your serial number," which I had, of course, because I bought it on Amazon, so my receipt was on my Amazon account. So I sent that over to them. I just sent it an email, and they said, "Okay, give us your address and name and all that, and we'll send you over a new key." So that came today. And in the meantime, though, in the interim, because it's a standard layout, I just looked on Amazon PBT keycaps, and I picked the first thing that came up, which was it's a keycap set I've actually bought before. It was this little honeybee cow milk one with Japanese letters or whatever. And I was like, fuck it. I don't care. These are fine. I've had these before. I know what they are. They're cheap, but they'll get the job done while I wait for this keycap. And so I put those on. That was pretty easy. And I still have those on, but I kept my Keychron keys in a bag so that I could, let's say I ever wanted to use the original keycap set or wanted to sell the thing, I would sell it with the original keycaps. So I got the E key today and it came really tightly wrapped up and I just popped it in the bag, which I keep inside the Keychron box. But oh, and I've also swapped out the USB cable because I use a USB hub, which is USB A, and it comes with a USB C cable with an A adapter. And I was like, I don't really want that. So I had an extra C cable laying around and I just used that now. But that's besides the point. So I kept the cable and the adapter inside the cases or inside the box as well, along with the manual extra keycaps and keycap puller and all that bullshit. All the cool stuff that you want to come with your keyboard. So overall, the Keychron is really what I wanted out of a keyboard, and their warranty service is very good. Where if something breaks on it, you're covered for the most part. As far as I know. So I kind of wanted to talk about that today. Of the reason why I didn't recommend, buying a Corsair keyboard is because, God forbid, one of those keycaps breaks on it, you're fucking screwed. You know what I mean? Like it's gonna take you forever to go through Corsair to get a new E key, in case their shitty ABS keycap just fucking broke on you. And because it's a non-standard layout, you can't just go out and buy a new keycap set. You gotta, you know, unless you manage to find a Corsair keycap set, which is something that I find really important in a device that I own, is I need to be able to replace parts on it. And people don't understand that. Where it's like, oh, it's fine, it'll work, and God, if it breaks, I'll just fucking buy a new one, or I can swap on a random keycap that's not in the same profile. Because that was why I had to swap every keycap on the board, was because it's not going to be the same profile unless I were to order that profile. So I was like, okay, I can just use new keycaps and I'll be fine. But if I had bought a keyboard that didn't have that standard layout, if it didn't have, um, yeah, but if it didn't have that layout, I would have to buy a new keyboard, or I would have to somehow acquire a keycap for it. And that's important to me when I'm buying a product, is that if something breaks on it, I'm covered, because I break things. You know what I mean? So it needs to be easily repairable, or it needs to be easily serviceable by somebody, and it needs to not cost me money. You know what I mean? So that is why I ended up with this Keychron. I like the build quality. If you can shell out the money for gasket mount, it's cool, but this case is pretty thick plastic. It pretty much beats out every plastic keyboard I've ever owned. Except like maybe the Model M, and even then it's a maybe. But, oh, and of course, this was a problem I did have with it though. I have a backup keyboard, which is just that standard Dell Office keyboard that you saw on every computer in the 2000s. And I tried to install FreeBSD, and as well as like Midnight BSD or whatever, I don't remember what it's called. Midnight BSD, I think is what it is, and OpenBSD could recognize this keyboard. It's an open source keyboard, they say. It's got QMK VIA, and it's plug and play. On Linux, you don't need to install a driver for it or anything. It's just a fucking USB keyboard. But on FreeBSD, that was not the case. It wouldn't detect the keyboard at all. Now on OpenBSD, it did. Now the problem I had with OpenBSD though was, then I wanted sound. And because I'm using an external DAC over USB, that became a problem. Now, I may be able to fix that if I were to like use optical, which I found out for some reason I didn't fucking check when I bought it that it had optical on it, and I just never knew until now, until I started looking at pictures of it, and I was like, wait, there is an optical jack on there, and there's coax. And then I looked at my motherboard and I was like, oh, there's optical on there too. Holy shit. So that's fucking egg on my face. I don't even know what the fuck's on my computer. But I couldn't get the SNDIO to work at all on OpenBSD. I don't know what the issue was. But that was just my quick rant on, if you're buying a keyboard, I don't obviously have any affiliation with fucking anybody. And I doubt anybody wants to affiliate with this channel, but if you're looking for, I'm gonna like start making a list of brands that I recommend based on my experience with their warranty system. Because that's obviously something that you need, you need to have some sort of guarantee that the shit you buy is going to work, and if it doesn't, they are liable for that. And you want something with good build quality. You don't want to buy a keyboard that's cheap and then just have it crap out on you in a few months, because I've done that before. And it's not fun. I'm like, man, I spent money on this keyboard. I want it to work. And then I'm like, why don't I just get a membrane keyboard that it's got so few moving parts that what the fuck's gonna break in it, And if it does break, just get a new one, And that was something that I was kind of looking for, and I am glad that I'm vindicated in that now that I've had to send in a warranty request. I was covered, so that's always nice. And I try to support brands like that. I try to tell people, oh, buy from this brand because something on it, God forbid something breaks, you're good. Or, they have much higher build quality than their competitors. You know, they have more features, they have better features, they have the hot swappable switches, they have the lubricated stabilizers, they have the hard, you know, the thick plastic case that just works and it doesn't flex at all, you know. And so I want to be able to recommend things like that to people, and it kind of is the same thing with PC parts, you know. I try to get PC parts from brands that I trust, as well as looking at reviews for the specific product I'm buying, you know. Because like I've got a Gigabyte motherboard, and Gigabyte's had problems in the past, but if I had to buy a new motherboard, I would just like avoid Asus really, and like maybe avoid MSI just because their cheaper boards are cheap for a reason. You know what I mean? And that's really about it. You know, that's kind of all I had to say. I know this kind of got out of hand at the last few couple of minutes or so, but that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today. Is just kind of an experience with having to send in a request and being supported. No, that's about it. Thanks.